Welcome back to the Balance Bully podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen, always excited to be back in the building with you virtually and one day, hopefully someday in person. But for now, I want to kick off my birthday month because this is my birthday month when you are hearing this with an amazing woman who is absolutely brilliant at what she does. She is obsessed with the work that she's working on, which is to help you tap into your zone of genius. Emily Perron, I have to say, is creative, explorative, brilliant. I've been professionally stalking her Instagram. She doesn't know this, but she's finding out now. And she is completely focused on helping other people do what she's masterfully been able to do herself. Emily, welcome to the BBP. How are you today?
Wow. Thank you, Naketa. I'm doing fantastic. It's just a beautiful day.
It is a fantastic day. So would you mind just a couple of minutes of what you do and why you decided to do it?
Yeah. So I work with creative entrepreneurs in particular, helping them uncover their individual zones of genius so then they can build a team of support around them. And I got into it partly because I'm so creative. So that's why I tend to work with creatives. Particularly, I work with a lot of bloggers. And so we have a lot of the similar struggles. I also had a corporate background. I have a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And I ended up hiring early in my business and really struggled. So I made all the mistakes you can make.
Come on. Me too.
Honestly, like sparkly and reliable was in my first job posting. Like that was the qualifications. You had to be sparkly and reliable. I'm like, so it was borderline successful. So, that's kind of how I got into it. I thought, I can do this. And I'd say one of the other big mistakes that I made hiring early was I tended to find people who were like me. And so then I amplified my weaknesses. And so when I really started to understand zone of genius, because I feel like genius encapsulates so much, right? It covers our personality, our strengths, our experiences. I really love it as this like really holistic, big picture on who you are. And so just the more that I've dug into that, the more I found I didn't really find the resources in the world, that Google would give me were all that helpful. The founder of the concept in his book mentions he reflected for a week. That's how he found his zone of genius. Like I reflected for a week and it didn't work.
It did not. I'm like, just a week? Really? That's where that came from? But okay.
1 week. But he and I have very, very different backgrounds. And so it makes like he had decades more experience than when I was first doing this in my early 30s. And so I was like, that makes sense. Like a mid 50s guy is going to use different tools than an early 30s woman. And so
absolutely,
things like that. So, and a lot of it too is geared more toward employees as well, which is great. Like that's a great segment of the world. And I felt like entrepreneurs and freelancers were really being neglected in this space. And so that's then where my work has come, right? So I've done a lot of recruiting, a lot of organizational strategy development. And then now I'm like in this space of focusing even more on the zone of genius concept.
Yeah, I appreciate specifically I'm biased because I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years. I came from a professional world that was super system-based because my background is I'm a licensed clinical social worker and trauma specialist before I dove deeper into sexology, relationship advice, and human behavior and all the things, where now we work with power couples and married women entrepreneurs. And the couples have to have at least one person. Typically, one person is at minimum an entrepreneurial spirit, because you and I both know that people who have innate entrepreneurial tendencies, we just think different. We see the world different. It has color, it has sound, it has texture. And not that we're smarter than anyone else, because lots of famous entrepreneurs have come from corporate or systemic backgrounds before they tap deeper into themselves and found their zone of genius, to use the language that is on par with you, before they came over. But it does make us stand out when we're in systems and corporations. We look a little odd. We do things seemingly a little bit rebellious and can often be the person in the room that has a unique spin on how we could create a solution in a different way that might not quite fly with the culture. So depending on where you are, you can look like us. What did you say in your first posting? Sparkly and reliable. We can look like that when we weren't asked to be that way, just because of the way we process. So you specifically carving out your lane and working with people that, yes, you can work with the leaders, the employees, the employers, like all of it, but seeing that your deepest connection is with the entrepreneurial spirit, the entrepreneurial thinker, the person who has discovered they're good at a lot of things, but there's only certain things that they are aligned with in their spirit to be best at. And it doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of things that they could check off the box, right? They'd be like, oh, listen, I'm your guy, your girl for all 10 of these things. But what is your zone of genius, which might be, I'm assuming, like a pocket of some really magical awesomeness there. Is that what you've discovered over your time of working with us entrepreneurial spirited humans?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about how that zone of competence, are you familiar with those 4 zones of work from Gay Hendricks' book? So that competence, I found it is an incredible trap for entrepreneurs, because I mean, most of them have been an employee at some point, right? We start there. It's hard to go straight from, at the beginning to be an entrepreneur or a freelancer. It's really hard. Some people are able to do it, but, but what I've noticed is that a lot of people have a hard time because they can do so many things. They have a hard time outsourcing those. They have a hard time getting help with them. And part of it is, that they can do it. And so they don't want to pay someone else for something they can do.
True.
But then also, like, they procrastinate on those things, and they don't realize too how much, someone else's zone of genius, they have genius where you have competence. That's what I think is so brilliant about the 4 zones of work in particular, is that we can build teams that complement ourselves as entrepreneurs. And that it took me a while to get there. And I've noticed it's kind of a shift that most entrepreneurs that are outsourcing we have to get there.
Yeah.
It's not,
it's not
the
natural.
culture's not teaching us that.
Yeah, no, 1,000%, Emily. You make a good point, because many, not all, but many entrepreneurs came from environments where there were teams of people to do all kinds of things, especially the entrepreneurs that were maybe directors, VPs, or C-suite level. And when you have that level, you're used to delegating to an in-house team of people that you most likely did not have to recruit and hire and onboard and do all the things for, that they were already quote unquote skilled and competent at their I'll just say sub zone, because we don't know if that's their actual zone of Jesus or just one of the things that they're really, really good at. But they're good enough for you in that. And then when you become an entrepreneur, you get hit with the reality that you, my love, are one of all, and you are doing all the things, especially in the first 6 months to a year or so of your business, depending on what kind of capital, whether or not you had investors, all that kind of good stuff. And many people did not. So then you get so used to being a one woman, one man, one human ship of steering. And now you have people like us, advisors, that are coming in like, listen, you want to have better balance? You want to be bold about it? You want to make room for that love that you've been, doing all this work for, creating this fantastic life for, so you can actually enjoy all of your work. And we're like, you need to outsource, you need to delegate. And they're like, even with a budget, even not having a scarcity mindset, the first thing that I've seen across the humans that I've worked with is, how am I supposed to find someone that's going to complement what I do? That I don't have to spend all of my time training, that I can mentor to a degree, but has some skill set, some competency, and is not too arrogant or at a place where they feel like, I know everything, I don't need your help, even though it is your entrepreneurial business that I'm coming in to help to do. So that's usually the deeper fear once you move budgets out of the way. And that it's the people management fear, basically. And what you're doing, from the professional stalking that I did of all your things, because I'm very, very good at that. What I saw that you're doing is you're really helping people hire to complement their zone of genius by not, to your point earlier in your personal story, finding people that they just vibe with in the interview and it feels like they could be a friend, because now you got a friend who's so much like you that you're not getting things done. Right? And that you're paying every week.
Yeah. Right. And I was thinking about that fear you mentioned. And one of the things that I've done in my hiring process that has really helped navigate that, or negate would be a better word, that negates that, is I've actually ditched cover letters. I like don't care about cover letters at all. Instead, I ask 5 questions every time. And I just ask them to write, a few sentences, because it's basically the same as a cover letter. But the best part is, one, I always ask, what is your zone of genius? Because that really helps you get a sense of who they are, right? So if you're hiring a social media manager and their zone of genius is, I don't know, creativity. I mean, just like, they'll be honest with you, and it's really helpful. And it's like, well, that's not, I wanted someone who's like super into TikTok. And so that's fine. Right. But it's really helpful. And then you can also compare people so much more easily, because everyone's responding to the same questions instead of this random, everyone writes something else, like everyone writes something different in cover letters. So
no, I love to compare. Do you want to give a little teaser of some of your 5 questions besides what is your zone of genius?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I'm even willing to share all 5 if it happens. The first one I always ask is why, something along the lines of why they're the best candidate, or, what attracted them to the role, things like that. Because I think that really gets at the point of the cover letter, right? You already got their resume or their LinkedIn profile. So I always ask that. Then I ask zone of genius. The third one will vary for social media managers, and even for some other roles. I like to ask, what is your proudest accomplishment? In the industry, because I think that helps see their experience a little more. Like, if, you can see a lot from that.
I'm glad you added in your industry at the end of that, because I'd be like, oh, let me see, my firstborn. No.
Yeah. Right. But like, think you're a social media manager now. Naketa, like applying for a social media manager job.
Right. So, I'm totally in my G Bunny hat. Like, wow, my 3 and 4-year-old grandbabies are like amazing. So that's my answer in the interview, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And then let's see. I also like to ask if they're full-time. So I just want to know if they have a full-time job or a part-time job, or are they full-time freelancing? So I ask something along that. And then my 5th question is always something personal. So that connects with the brand. So when it's me, I like to hear, when I'm posting, I like to hear about what their favorite books and movies and TV shows are. Because it helps me find some common ground and connection with them. When I work with food bloggers in particular, we always ask about their favorite food, because otherwise people will spend the whole application talking about how much they love food and don't realize everyone can do that. And actually, I've ran into that myself with work as well. Like, when I was career coaching, I had the same problem. Everyone would talk about how meaningful work was. And I was like, that's great, but you're not telling me why you're qualified. And so I try to give a space for those kind of things as well.
Yeah. I like how you're really looking for the alignment. Like, that's what the visual word that popped up for me as an analytical creative personally, like the career alignment. Like, what is that alignment that makes the most sense for you as the candidate, Naketa, the social media manager, Naketa, as that person potentially filling a gap that our company is having. And I honor that you're going deeper, because a lot of people don't do that. It's a superficial, tactile, how many boxes can I check off, right? Skill set software. And to your point, you can just go to their LinkedIn profile or pull up their CV, resume, whatever you required in the first place. And it's so non-personal. And then when you hire those people who, yes, have the skill set to do the things, but they're not integrated into the culture that you either have or you're trying to create as an entrepreneur, who's finally heard Emily Perron when she said, you need to outsource, you need to delegate. I got it, but oh goodness, this person doesn't vibe with the culture that I'm trying to create. When you come across that for your clients and all the work you do, because you're also managing clients, helping them match people to their zone of genius and hire appropriately, and you're dealing with creatives, which we are a fun and interesting batch of humans to extract information from, that we're not like throwing it up in the air saying, but it kind of looks like this. You know what I mean? And you're like, no, not really, because you didn't use words yet. So there's all of that context. And you're still trying to have a life. So I know you're not trying to be available 24/7. So all of the, creative energy that comes up at 3, like, oh, here's my answer to Emily's question at 3 a.m. when I'm slacking it over to you. How are you helping the creatives that are just stuck with how to integrate freelancers specifically, because maybe they're not W-2 employees, they're outsourced, potentially even 1099 through various platforms, but they want to have them be a part of their back office community, their team community, but still honor and respect that this person has, to your point, because you vetted that as one of your 5 questions, they have other jobs. They have maybe their own business that they're trying to use this platform for. And now as the entrepreneur, I'm switching hats to the other entrepreneur that's hiring that person. The challenge then comes up. Can I trust that they will be available for me when I need them? And let's say it's 10 hours a week. Will they really be available, or will they look at me as a vendor instead of as a client, which is a different way to view people?
Right. Well, I think part of it is it's communicated through the job posting. So I'm really intentional with myself and my clients, like capturing the essence of the business owner. I really want to make sure that their personality is infused into it, because that job posting is really the magnet, right? It's going to attract or repel people accordingly. And not only do I work with a lot of creatives, but also I'd say they're pretty heart-centered, like I am myself. And so, I just love that word. I love that phrase too. And
fun batch of people.
Yeah. And so we it's almost a non-issue, because when you put that level of care and craft, even into those questions, even the questions we're asking, because that's a unique thing, that even those questions, like not asking for a cover letter and asking for these questions instead, again, it's going to attract or repel people. And I really haven't had a lot of applicants that have made it into an interview that are that way. I'm usually able to weed them out pretty easily. Because one thing they'll do is like they'll put like a really great red flag, and a great reason to use questions is, some people will just say like, see cover letter, let's talk. Like they'll write that, let's talk for all the questions. And I'm like, no, you put no effort into this. Like, I'm not taking the risk on you and like giving you 30 minutes of my time if you're not willing to even write 2 sentences for me. Like, do you know what I mean? And so it seems to like work itself out by using the processes that I've refined and honed. And it's been 6 to 7 years. It's not, I didn't make this up last week. This has been quite some time that I've been spending on this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that was some clarity too. Because prior to you explaining that, I was thinking these are questions you ask in real time, like while you have them. But these are the preparatory questions that, to your point, screen in or out the best fit, potentially the best fit candidate.
Yeah. So instead of asking for a cover letter, I ask for 5 questions to be answered. And really only 2 to 3 of them are more challenging, right? Like, what's your like the capacity question is pretty easy to answer. Like, do you have a full-time job or not?
Right. If to your point, if they're going to be honest, because they might say, oh no, I have to be mindful how to answer this, or I might not get the opportunity to interview. And that, it's not a judgment, but it's a reflection of where they're at in their mindset, that they feel like they have to hold a piece of themselves back, which may or may not vibe with whoever the entrepreneur or leader is that's trying to bring them into their team and have some more time available for them. So I just want to dive into something, because you have this new workbook that's all about Zone of Genius. And before you talk to us a little bit about why you decided to do this workbook when you already are doing so well and sharing so much information and, attracting your ideal clients and all of it, when you decided to create this, did you have to make extra space for it, or were you already able, in terms of your time during the day, or were you able to just fit this in as just part of the project? And where a little sneak peek of where I'm going with this is about how you're balancing boldly, right? Like in your own personal life. So where did this new project, because that comes up for a lot of entrepreneurs, like I'm doing all this stuff, but I have this new idea that right? Like I want to go deeper in because it's more connected, whether they realize it or not, potentially with their zone of genius. So how is Emily making room for herself with this?
Yeah. Well, this one was just like a lightning idea. And so I think I put it together in 20 to 30 minutes. And that doesn't mean it's not good or it's shoddy work or anything like that. It's just, I had all these years of studying Zone of Genius and I just knew what needed to go into this workbook. And it's something I'd been thinking about for a while. And I remember reaching out to my assistant in Voxer and telling her that I wanted to do this workbook. And then all of a sudden that day I was able to write all of the copy in a Google Doc of what I wanted to put into it. And then we pulled in a designer to actually put it together because I should not design things.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah, that's me. Stick figures is as far as we're going. I got you.
Once it got in process, once I get the initial idea out, then I have two contractors that work with me right now that are really good balances of each other and of me. And so we were able to put it together fairly quickly. I mean, within a few weeks, couple months.
Nice. No, and I feel you on when you get those downloads that are right in the confirmation area of your spirit. Like, yep, that's exactly what I need to do. And you don't have to spend a month in analysis paralysis trying to figure out if you should do it or not. That makes complete sense.
Well, and I gave myself full permission to, like, if we need a new version in a few months, I can update it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to it's not, it's an ebook. So you don't have, it's an electronic workbook. And so you can print it, you can use it electronically, but you can also, it can change if it needs to. I cannot take the link.
No, that's smart. That's smart. That's that.
What is that imperfect action?
Exactly. What would the kids say? Jinx. We said it at the same time. No, I love that. So when you are not helping all the creative entrepreneurs, the bloggers, the other writers in the world, I know you work with a lot of coaches as well. When you're not helping them find complementary matches to their zone of genius so that they can really scale and grow whatever empire that they're trying to create, how is Emily giving herself permission to pause?
That is such a good question. I think it comes through my journaling. I think I journal. I usually free write for about a half an hour in the morning, right when I wake up, kind of get everything out of my head. And I think through journaling over the past, 15, 20 years, that's where it's coming from, right? Because I think it's a very restful way to start the day. It's very gentle. And I think that's where it comes from for me.
No, I love that. My standing philosophy that's in our personal circle is be gentle and honest. So that privately, there's a lot of times that I'm using that gentle honesty. This is the first time you guys are hearing it on the BBP. So don't be trying to research my personal emails or anything with that. But it's definitely something that I stand for as well. And we know 20 minutes of writing a day, especially when you're in free thought, scientifically, neurologically makes you happier. And that is the truest reality of that. So you are 15, 20 plus years, and you are a very happy person overall, Emily, which I super appreciate because that complements and matches me really well, selfishly, which I'm okay with too for so many reasons.
Right. And I think it's also like to anyone listening, it's never too late to start as well. Like, on this path, like with journaling and just the free writing. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know what to write for a little while. Then something else will pop through. So,
and sometimes that musing of yourself and being in that quiet space with yourself, you declutter some of the chaos that was going on from the night before, the week before, the month before, the project before, and you allow, Zone of Genius workbook downloads to come in right in easily, and you're able to get it out without stressing. That's what I'm talking about, honey. all day long. All right. So, Emily, how can people connect with you and learn more, including to get your free download?
Yeah. So emilyperron.com/ZOG is the place to grab the workbook. Also, you'll find resources. My blog is on there. And so there's tons of resources out there on hiring and Zone of Genius and all those things, and actually freelancing as well. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also on Instagram. I love hearing from people, especially when I'm on a podcast like this. I just love hearing what people think. So you can reach out to me at emily.perron, Perron.
I was hearing when you were saying emilyperron.com/ZOG, I was thinking in my head, the place to be, because Corny lives here and I embrace it fully. So there's that. And a triple plug for the workbook and the download, and to go visit Emily Perron, because you obviously are going to be able to tap into some spots in you that you weren't able to access before you met her. Thank you, Emily, for coming to the BBP. We value and appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, Naketa. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Balance Boldly listeners, I know I had to kick off my birthday month really, really awesomely, because why not? Why not? So happy birthday to every July baby out there. You are awesome and wonderfully made. The other months, you're special too, because all my kids are in other months, but we're not talking about you. We are having an intentionally selfish moment to say happy birthday to Naketa. Just taking that small moment. Outside of that, I want you to do what I ask you to do every single week, which is enjoy the balance of your day, but do it boldly.